And here is that uncanny, unassailable, unmatched, unparalleled underwriter with the ultimate and unexampled, unconfutable, ultra-unbelievable, unquestionable upheavals. Believe it or not, Bob Ripley.
And greetings, everybody, and welcome to the program. On the stage here, we have assembled a group of, believe it or not, people.
As you can see, this gentleman, he's able to blow up a balloon with his eyes. Now, if you watch closely, you can see him do it. You can see perfectly. He's absolutely normal in every other respect. Mr. Adlon, he's one of the most essential oddities of all times. He doesn't use a razor, he uses a blowtorch. Now, just try this on your 5 o'clock shadow. Now, this is actually a torch with a temperature of almost 1,000 degrees. He has a...
In 1939,
his mouth.
Broadway raised the curtain on a new kind of showstopper. A unique museum that brought the newspaper feature, Believe It or Not, to shocking three-dimensional life.
The most fantastic man that you've ever seen in all your life right here in this auditorium.
The auditorium, as it was called, was the latest incarnation of the popular multimedia brand that for 2 decades had mesmerized the nation with an encyclopedic pageant of one-of-a-kind wonders, arcane trivia, and homespun Americana.
Now you can just imagine somebody reading this stuff in their daily paper and their mind is blown.
The cartoon introduced Americans to a paper hanger with one arm, the fakirs of India, piano-playing dogs, and a ham seller named Sam Heller.
It was almost as if you were to take this enormous confetti of data and put it into a food processor and push high until it blew up and splattered all over the page. And then you wrote, Believe It or Not, by Ripley.
The feature was the brainchild of Robert Ripley, a shy, buck-toothed sports cartoonist who traveled to the ends of the earth, collecting curiosities for his eager audiences.
Human beings have an appetite for the strange, for the odd, the unusual, the grotesque, the fantastic. And I think he intuitively understood that.
Tonight's broadcast of a holy man from India as he actually walked barefoot over red-hot coals of fire.
Ripley was constantly searching. He had a fever for finding new odd things. He loved it.
One of the appeals of Ripley was that he was kind of a regular guy. He was part world traveler, part hayseed, which people often called him. He was not a likely person to become a superstar.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's program is one of the most astounding I've ever attempted. Believe it or not.
One evening in the winter of 1918, the sports cartoonist at the New York Globe hit a creative wall. His editors were waiting for him to turn in a sketch for the next day's paper, but 28-year-old Robert Ripley was out of ideas.
December of 1918, typically a slow time for a sports cartoonist like Ripley. There weren't a whole lot of games going on. So he often had to scramble during the winter periods to come up with something for the newspaper, to come up with a cartoon.
Desperate for inspiration, he pulled out a scrapbook of clippings he had been saving of peculiar athletic feats.
He collected articles and notes to himself and all these ideas in order to use those during the winter lull. So he starts sifting through to find a few odd sports feats to cobble together into this one cartoon.
Ripley assembled a collage of material and called it Champs and Chumps.
It is a series of 11 little drawings. No big central drawing, they're all minor items. It looks like he just scribbled it together. It's kind of a last-minute haphazard, okay, I gotta turn in something.
Years later, he would say that this was his first Believe It or Not cartoon. But that night, Ripley was simply relieved to make his deadline.
He didn't do another one for 10 months. And when he finally did another one, at least he did make some progress. He called it Believe It or Not. But from then on, he might produce a Believe It or Not every few months. He did not recognize it as his ticket to fame by any means.
In the early 1920s, Ripley's quirky, sports-themed Believe It or Nots appeared only sporadically, filling in the gaps between his more conventional sports coverage. He wrote articles to accompany his cartoons and quickly garnered a reputation as a good read. If you really appreciate art and literature combined, touted the paper, you can't afford to miss Ripley.
About 10 years into Ripley's career at the Globe, something happens that's a turning point for him in his life and his career. He's sent on this adventure around the world.
The ocean liner Laconia was embarking on a luxury cruise that would circle the Earth. Ripley's editors booked the cartoonist's passage on the ship and instructed him to sketch and write about what he saw during the 4-month voyage.
He had always wanted to travel, but he was stuck on a reporter's salary and didn't have really the means to do much traveling until this opportunity fell in his lap to finally see the world.
Through his Ramble Round the World columns, Ripley took readers along for the ride of a lifetime.
He goes to Hawaii first and then heads over to Asia. He's sending a dispatch home, a brief essay, and some cartoons every day. It was almost like the blogging of its time.
It's his first trip to China, first trip to Japan, all life-changing experiences.